Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we've got something super cool that is not at all a dinosaur, but we have a shark, and not just any shark. As you can see, it is the Great Hammerhead Shark, aka the Saphirna macaron, and it's a super articulated version. And what's even cooler is this is actually by an artist I have never reviewed before. This was created by the artist Omi, and he obviously is a pretty darn impressive sculptor because this looks like an absolutely incredible figure. And it's actually, a 3D printed figure from him. But what's cool is it's not any sort of like an elastic articulation like you most often find when it comes to individual artists creating articulated figures like this nowadays. This is actually a jointed figure, which makes this one, in my opinion, maybe a little bit more appealing, because the other type of articulation sometimes isn't always the greatest. It usually works pretty well, but I personally prefer, jointed articulation. I feel like in the long run that would probably last better and everything. So that's something that's really cool about this. You can also see that on top of having an absolutely awesome shark, you have a super cool stand that you can get with it. Now, one thing that is important to remember about this is again, is sculpted and created by Omi, which I already mentioned, but the only way to really buy it is to actually, why is that so out of focus right now? There we go. The only way to actually buy this is through his Cults 3D shop. This was created, printed, and painted by him for me, which is basically like a one-off, and it's not something that he often does. So you would have to purchase it again on his Cults 3D shop and then print it out, put it together, and paint it up yourself. But you can see the stand is really, really nicely done. And I love the fact that you have a nameplate here on the front, of course, telling you exactly what species you have. You as well have different areas where you can actually put the stand here, the little peg that you can prop the shark up with. You can basically move it around to different areas so that you can display it pretty much anywhere you want, which is a really nice addition to this model. But when it comes to the actual shark itself, as you can see, it is super nicely done. So starting here in the head sculpt of our hammerhead shark, obviously, if we start down here on the underside, we have this really nice light tone of color, exactly as you would expect to see for a hammerhead shark. If you move up here to the top, you can definitely see that darker grayish tone that you know and love from the hammerheads. You can also see that in general the head is sculpted really beautifully if you let the light hit it. Of course, when it comes to something like this, a marine species and specifically a shark, you're not going to see a whole lot when it comes to, fine texturing, because for the most part the figure is going to be primarily a smooth sort of texturing, but he has found a way to still give it some nice texturing that looks exactly like the type of texturing you would see on a shark, on the skin of a shark. You can of course also see the eyes off here to the side, painted with a nice blackish tone. I also really quite enjoy the way he's painted this with the gray kind of, and the way it sort of transitions away, as it almost has like a slight speckling effect as you move down from the gray to the lighter tone of the underside. As you move down to the underside, of course, you have an articulated jaw for the shark, which is really cool. Inside the mouth, you've got the teeth sculpted out really nicely, and he's actually done a great job of painting those teeth. Same deal for the teeth on the lower jaw here, which you can see. We can also see the inside of the mouth, which looks really good as far as both the sculpt and the way he's painted it. I actually really quite like his paintwork and the realism that he's added. Like, you can see quite a bit of extra variation of color that he's given the inside of the mouth. And as we can see, that jaw works perfectly, again, with the articulation style. It's so nice. As we move down, you can instantly see we've got another spot of articulation right here, which can go left and right very nicely. It can also go up and down. So again, pretty much posing that head anywhere you would like for the shark, which you can see. Look at how smooth and nice that articulation is. That is super nicely done. When you combine it again moving back, you can really get some impressive posability in the head area of this hammerhead. It is so stinking smooth. As we continue to move back, you do of course have the gills sculpted out right there, which you can see. We continue to of course have the grayish tone following through the entire figure. We've got the fins over here on the side sculpted really quite nicely. You can see they also end up here in a nice point as you lead out. The dorsal fin, nice and impressive up here on the top of the figure. As we get nice and close, you can again really take in the texturing that has been applied as you get close and let that light shine off of it. It shows off, I think, how impressive the actual fine detail of the shark is. We continue to, of course, have more articulated joints leading down, and as you lead through the body, you can see you've got quite a few as you lead all the way out there toward the tail of the figure. Leading down, you can, of course, see the pelvic fins, of course, as well. You also have the cloaca here on the underside of the shark, which is, of course, a great addition. You lead back, you've got more articulated joints leading the entire way all the way out there toward the tail. Of course, more fins as you lead along both the upper and lower side of the shark, leading all the way out to the really nice tail fin. And if you want to get a nice good feel for the way the articulation works, you can really, again, get some beautiful posability and beautiful curvatures to the body in the shark. Pretty much exactly the way that a shark can maneuver its body is the way that you're going to find the articulation working so smooth and so nicely, again, on his figure. So by far, one of the coolest articulated figures that I've been able to acquire in quite some time. And also, it is something, important to know. You can swivel the articulated joints as well. And of course, that goes for pretty much any and every one of these joints the entire way through. So that's, of course, another fun aspect of posing it. You can twist and tilt the body if you want. But I really don't have any sharks in my collection at all that are like this, so that makes this one a pretty special addition to my collection and something that, again, I didn't really have a taste for prior, but now I'm definitely going to have a hunger for more articulated sharks because this thing is super cool. As far as a size goes, for a length from the tip of the tail to the head, you're looking at a little bit over 8.5 inches, maybe just shy of 8 3/4 inches, or about 22 centimeters, almost on the dot. And the highest point, if it's just sitting here on the review station, is the top of the tail fin at about 3 inches, or a little bit over 7.5 centimeters, or around a little over 2 3/4 inches to the top of the dorsal fin, or about 7 centimeters for a size comparison. Now, one unfortunate downside is I don't have all that many shark figures even in my collection, outside of like a few great whites and megalodon figures and stuff, so I don't think too many are going to measure up too well with this one, and I really don't have any when it comes to articulated sharks, but we can do just a few random comparisons, as here we have Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Golovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being, next to our Great Hammerhead Shark. We've also got the Safari LTD Tyrannus, which you can see is actually of similar length to the shark. The Schleich Diabloceratops, which is a bit smaller. The Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon, which definitely rivals the shark in size, as well as a Mattel Velociraptor, which we can clearly see is kind of course, very different in shape, but kind of similar in size. And then when it comes to just a few sharks, here we have the Schleich Megalodon, which we can see is significantly larger. The Papo Megalodon, which is a bit closer in size. I would actually say very similar in size, maybe just a hair bigger. And finally, the PNSO Helicoprion, which you can see is also quite similar in size to the Great Hammerhead. So this is such an insanely cool release and such a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to check out another new artist. I always love diving into new companies and new artists that I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at before. And when it comes to something like this, again, it's just so cool, so unique, a bit different from what I usually look at. So something that I welcome with open arms for sure. And I think he's done a great job on this. The shark looks really cool, definitely looks quite accurate to the way it looks in real life. He's done a very good job on the fine detail. Again, being a shark, you would expect very smooth skin, but he's found a way to still give it a pretty highly detailed look, which is definitely really nice. His paintwork on this one is also really nicely done, but as I already mentioned, this is a figure that you would purchase from his Cults 3D shop, so not something that you can purchase already, printed out and painted and everything from him like I have here. This is just something that I was lucky enough to get my hands on and have the pleasure of showing off to you guys and show you basically what it could look like once it's finished. But there are plenty of different places you can go to get stuff printed out if you don't have a 3D printer yourself. So you can purchase the files and then have someone print it and ship it to you. Something that many people do offer, like Medium Master is one person here in the United States that I know does that for people. So I will actually include a link to Medium Master in the description. I will also, of course, course include a link to the Cults 3D shop as well as the Instagram account of Omi, where you can check out his work on this, as well as, of course, purchasing this and pretty much anything and everything else that he is creating or has created. But like I said, it is such a very cool figure. Visually, it is absolutely awesome. It's very nicely articulated as well. I like the fact that it is jointed articulation and not actually like string articulation, because it's just, you know, something that's so, in my opinion, much more durable than string articulation. So it's a great way to go, and I think the fact that it just articulates so nice and smoothly and stays in exactly the position that I put it in is, of course, a great aspect to this type of articulation, a great addition to any articulated figure. And he's got a really cool stand that comes with it, which again pretty much gives it a very museum-like look and feel, a very, very high quality look and feel. So like I said, if you are interested in this, make sure you check out all of his accounts. Again, his Cults 3D shop as well as his Instagram account. Make sure you follow him on there. Pick this up, get it printed, and add it to your collection. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.